We spend our days completely immersed in a lifestyle that feels perfect on our screens. We scroll through glowing digital feeds of beautiful homes, perfectly plated food, and smiling families, absorbing a high-speed romance of how life ought to be. But when the screen finally goes dark, that digital perfection vanishes. In the silence that follows, most of us encounter a persistent, hollow ache, a sense that despite the constant stream of content, something essential is missing. This discomfort drives a relentless cycle. We feel the pressure of that inner longing, so we immediately reach for the nearest source of pleasure to drown it out. When the novelty of the distraction inevitably wears off, the ache returns, and the search for a new escape begins again. In the Gene Keys framework, this addictive loop of seeking and fleeing defines the lowest frequency of the 56th gene key, known as the shadow of distraction. We are caught in a great forgetting, where we purposefully recreate layers of diversion, from food and sex to power and digital noise, specifically to avoid the vulnerability of our true nature. Our lives become an elaborate architecture of stimulation, built to ensure we never have to face the spiritual barrenness of a life lived entirely on the surface. To find a way out of this trap, we can look to the mechanical blueprints of life itself. Within our DNA, the 56th gene key performs a very specific structural role. DNA replication continues until hitting a specific stop marker. This stop codon brings the outward expansion to a total halt. By stopping linear growth, the system gains stability to process information. The energy turns inward, transforming into a functional, living structure. Nature uses the stop codon as a gear shift to move from activity to integration. Applying this same mechanism to our lives means recognizing when we are in a pain cycle and consciously choosing to trigger an internal halt. Evolution in this context relies entirely on the pause. If the stop codon didn't exist, the biological system would collapse under its own uncontrolled growth. Similarly, our transformation begins the moment we stop adding distractions and simply allow the current cycle to end. This practice mirrors the ancient Taoist art of Wu Wei. It is often described as the art of doing by doing nothing, a state where action arises naturally from stillness. We often treat boredom as a problem to be solved, but removing artificial stimuli creates a necessary vacuum. Without a screen to turn to, the mind is forced to engage with the immediate depth of the world. In this gap of inactivity, we find the 56th gift, enrichment. It is the ability to perceive the poetry and music already present in a moment that appears empty to a distracted mind. Observe the preparation of this tea. Every detail, the rise of the steam, the precise flow of the water, becomes a refined frequency. Presence transforms a simple physical act into a rich, multidimensional experience. When you bring this level of attention to the present, enjoyment ceases to be a goal you are chasing. It becomes the inevitable byproduct of simply being where you are. Pushing this presence to its absolute limit leads to the 56th city, intoxication. The sage Ramakrishna lived in this state, often falling into a trance-like ecstasy at the mere mention of the divine. While many spiritual traditions advocate for renouncing the senses to find peace, the path of the intoxicant is one of total absorption. It is a rebellious embrace of every aspect of existence. The teacher Osho captured this synthesis in his Zorba the Buddha archetype. He proposed a being who combines the highest spiritual refinement with the uninhibited, sensuous enjoyment of the physical world. This figure represents the Zorba aspect, an embodied joy that refuses to see the material world as an obstacle. In this state, the mouth becomes the ultimate organ of enlightenment, literally ingesting and tasting the divine essence of life. The intoxicate's task is to transmute every experience. By meeting both suffering and pleasure with total openness, you extract a pure quintessence from life that the distracted mind can never taste. We remain victims of the world only as long as we keep running from it. By applying the biological stop codon to our habits, we stop the flight and begin the harvest. Absolute presence allows you to absorb the world's beauty and its pain with equal fervor. You drink deeply from the present moment, becoming divinely intoxicated by the sheer fact of your own existence.